Every New Year's Eve, millions of people set these massive life-changing goals.
Right. And then by February, like 80% of them have completely failed?
Exactly. And it's not because they lacked willpower or, didn't want it badly enough. It's because having a goal is actually, well, it's the absolute worst way to change your life.
Which, that sounds incredibly counterintuitive, doesn't it? We are conditioned from birth to define the finish line before we even start running.
Right. But that tension between what we've been taught about success and how human behavior actually works is exactly why we're here today. So welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive.
Yes, welcome. We've been handed this really fascinating stack of notes on James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and our mission today is very specific.
Super specific. We're going to extract the ultimate shortcut to understanding how massive life changes actually happen. And spoiler alert, it is absolutely not through, massive, exhausting, burn the ships action.
Which should be a tremendous relief, honestly. For the learner listening right now, the one who wants the high leverage insights without the anxiety of information overload. This deep dive is designed specifically for you.
Yeah, we are not just doing a basic list of what habits are. We're going under the hood.
Exactly. We're looking at the underlying neurology and psychology. We really want to understand the exact mechanisms of why tiny, seemingly insignificant improvements completely transform the trajectory of your life.
And to really grasp that, we need to look at this story the source material uses to introduce the 1% rule. It's about the British cycling team.
Oh, this is such a great example.
Right, because for nearly 100 years, British cyclists they were a laughingstock. They had won almost nothing.
I think the notes mentioned they performed so poorly that top bicycle manufacturers actually refused to sell them gear.
Yeah, they literally thought it would hurt their brand if the British team used their bikes. That is how bad they were.
That is just a remarkable detail. And then they brought in this man named Dave Brailsford, and he completely ignored massive sweeping overhauls.
Right, he didn't fire everyone and start from scratch. Instead, he believed in this concept called the aggregation of marginal gains.
Which basically means looking for a 1% improvement in literally everything you do.
Exactly. So they redesigned the bike seats to be slightly more comfortable. They rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip, but they didn't stop at the bikes, which is the crazy part.
No, they got incredibly granular with it. They figured out exactly which massage gel led to the fastest muscle recovery.
They even brought their own specific pillows and mattresses to hotels, just to get a 1% better night's sleep.
And my favorite part, they painted the inside of their transport trucks pristine white.
Oh, right. So they could spot tiny specks of dust that might degrade the aerodynamics of the tuned bikes. It's almost obsessive.
It is, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains the mathematical reality of habits. Those tiny changes, individually, they're meaningless.
Right. A white truck doesn't win a gold medal.
Exactly. But when you stack hundreds of 1% improvements on top of each other, the compounding effect is staggering. Within a few years, British cycling dominated the Olympic Games. They won 5 Tour de France victories in 6 years.
It's the compound interest of self-improvement.
Precisely.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if the math is that undeniable, why is society so completely obsessed with massive goals instead of marginal gains?
Well,
everyone says, I'm going to lose 50 pounds or I'm going to double my income. But the text makes this bold claim that goals alone do not create success.
Right. And what's fascinating here is the sheer survivorship bias we fall into when we look at success.
What do you mean by survivorship bias in this context?
Well, we see the gold medalist or the successful CEO, and we immediately assume their massive, ambitious goal is what got them there. But winners and losers often have the exact same goals.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Every single Olympian on the starting block wants the gold medal. Every candidate in the waiting room wants the job. If the goal itself was the differentiating factor, everyone with the goal would succeed.
Wait, I have to push back a little on this. Don't we need a destination? If I'm getting in a car, I can't just drive aimlessly. I need to plug an address into the GPS. So aren't goals at least necessary for direction?
Oh, they are absolutely necessary for direction, but that's all they are, a coordinate on a map. Setting the GPS destination doesn't magically move the car forward.
Right. The map isn't the territory.
Exactly. The difference between the winner and the loser isn't the destination, it's the system they are running. A goal is losing weight, but the system is the actual biological engine. exercising daily and cooking healthier meals.
Okay, so the goal is the GPS, but the system is the engine. You can stare at the map all day, wishing you were there, but if the engine is broken, you aren't moving an inch.
Yes. And think about the psychological burden of staring at that map all day. Obsessing over the outcome creates a constant state of failure. Well, if your goal is to write a novel, then every single day until that book is published, you are technically falling short of your goal. You are constantly carrying the weight of being like pre-success.
That sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting. But when you shift your focus to the daily process, the system of writing, say 1 page a day, you get to be successful every single time you sit down at the keyboard.
Which leads to a line from the text that is just brutal, but so true. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
It's a great quote.
Yeah.
It forces total accountability. Whatever results you're currently getting in your life right now, good or bad, they are a perfectly accurate reflection of the systems you are currently running.
But let's be honest about human nature for a second, because we can build the perfect system. We can buy the best running shoes, set the perfect alarm schedule, lay our clothes out the night before.
And still hit snooze at 5 a.m.
Exactly. The system isn't always enough on its own. Why do we sabotage our own perfect systems?
Because of the person behind the wheel. And this brings us to a massive psychological shift in the material. Identity-based habits.
Right, the shift from what we want to achieve to who we want to become.
Exactly. Most people try to change their habits by focusing entirely on outcomes. But lasting behavioral change is nearly impossible if the new behavior directly conflicts with your core belief about who you are.
The Nate suggests that instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, we should say, I am a runner. Or instead of, I want to write a book, say, I am a writer.
Right.
But I'll admit, when I first read that, it sounded a lot like fake it till you make it. Isn't the brain too smart to fall for that? I mean, if I've never run a mile in my life, standing in the mirror saying, I'm a runner, just feels like I'm lying to myself. How does that actually work?
You are absolutely right to question that, because positive affirmations without action are completely useless. You aren't just magically declaring, I am a runner, and expecting your brain to believe it.
Right, the brain wants proof.
Exactly. Your brain requires hard evidence. The text explains that your identity emerges out of your habits. Every single small action you take becomes a vote for the type of person you want to become.
So it's not a magic spell, it's an election.
Precisely. It's an election. If you secretly believe you're a lazy person, but you are trying to force yourself to work out, you are fighting a war against your own self-image.
And willpower is finite, right?
Willpower is a very finite resource. Eventually, it will deplete, and you will revert to the behaviors that match your identity. But every time you lace up your shoes and step outside, even if it's just for a 5-minute walk, you are casting a vote for the identity of a runner.
So it's like method acting for your own life.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. As those daily votes accumulate, the evidence shifts. You literally rewire your self-perception. And once your identity changes, the behavior is no longer a massive struggle. It's just an expression of who you naturally are.
Okay, so we need to cast these daily votes to build the evidence, but how do we actually ensure we cast those votes when life gets chaotic, work is stressful, and the couch looks really, really comfortable?
Well, the text provides a neurological blueprint for this called the 4 laws of behavior change.
Let's dive into those.
To understand the laws, you have to understand the underlying mechanism of every habit you have. The brain operates on this continuous 4-step loop: cue, craving, response, and reward.
Cue, craving, response, reward.
Got it. Your brain detects a cue in the environment, anticipates a reward, which creates craving, performs the response to get it, and then receives the reward. The 4 laws are essentially a toolkit to hack that biological loop.
Okay, let's walk through them. Law number 1 targets the cue. Make it obvious. This is about environment design, right? Like, if your goal is to read more, don't leave the book tucked away on a shelf. Place it dead center on your pillow.
Right. Or if you want to drink more water, fill a massive jug and put it directly in your line of sight on your desk.
Because vision is so dominant for us.
Vision is our most powerful sensory ability. We like to think we are in total conscious control of our actions, but we are highly reactive to our environment. If the cue is invisible, the habit never starts.
Makes sense. So law number 2 targets the craving. Make it attractive. This is where it gets into the neuroscience of dopamine, right? Because I know I need to do my taxes, but taxes are inherently unattractive. How do I make a hard thing attractive?
This is a crucial concept. We often think of dopamine as the chemical of pleasure, The rush we get after we eat chocolate or win a game.
Right, the reward chemical.
But neurologically, dopamine spikes the highest during the anticipation of a reward, not the fulfillment of it.
Oh, wow. So the craving itself is what feels good.
Exactly. It is the craving that drives the action. To make a hard habit attractive, you use a strategy called temptation bundling. You pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
Oh, I've heard of this. So like only letting yourself listen to your favorite true crime podcast while you are on the treadmill. You are borrowing the dopamine anticipation from the podcast and neurologically wiring it to the workout.
Exactly. You're hijacking your own dopamine system. Then we arrive at law number 3, which targets the response.
Oh,
Make it easy.
make it easy.
Humans are biologically wired by evolution to conserve energy. We will instinctively gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of effort. If a new habit feels like a massive mountain to climb, your brain will literally flood you with excuses to avoid it.
So we aggressively reduce the friction. The text pushes this concept hard with the 2-minute rule, or as I like to call it, the 1-page rule.
Yes, the 2-minute rule is genius.
Right. If you want to start reading, don't commit to a chapter. Commit to reading just one single page. It removes all the resistance of starting.
It completely bypasses the brain's alarm system. And finally, law number 4 targets the reward. Make it satisfying. The human brain prioritizes immediate rewards over delayed rewards.
Which explains so many bad choices.
It does. This is why smoking is so hard to quit. The nicotine hit is immediate, while the lung cancer is decades away. To make a good habit stick, you have to artificially attach an immediate reward to it.
Like tracking your progress visually.
Yeah, crossing a day off a calendar or simply celebrating the completion. These give the brain a quick hit of closure and satisfaction that signals it to repeat the behavior tomorrow.
Here's where it gets really interesting though. The text introduces a specific technique that ties the laws together called habit stacking. But I have to admit, I have completely failed at this in the past.
Oh, really? What happened?
Well, I tried to stack a new journaling habit onto eating lunch. I told myself when I eat lunch, I will write 1 paragraph. But I dropped it after 3 days because lunch happens at different times, or I'm rushing, or I'm eating in the car. What am I missing about the mechanics here?
Ah, I see. You missed the biological requirement of the cue. Habit stacking is brilliant because it relies on a process called synaptic pruning. Your brain already has these dense, highly efficient neural pathways built for habits you do every single day without fail.
Like brushing my teeth.
Exactly. Brushing your teeth, starting the coffee maker, turning off your alarm. Lunch is too variable. The neural pathway isn't rigid enough to support a new habit.
Ah, so you have to staple the new habit to a rock-solid hardwired routine.
Yes. Use an existing undeniable biological trigger. After I start the coffee maker, I will meditate for 1 minute. The old habit acts as the firing mechanism for the new behavior.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So that naturally explains why bad habits are so incredibly hard to break. They have those exact same dense neural pathways just working against us. How do we dismantle the bad engine?
By inverting the 4 laws. It is basic, ruthless behavioral engineering. If you want to break a bad habit, you attack the loop. Make the cue invisible. If you waste time on your phone, don't just put it face down. Put it in another room entirely. Out of sight, out of mind.
And for law 2, make it unattractive.
Right. And critically, for law 3, make it difficult. Add massive friction.
Like what?
Well, if you watch too much television, take the batteries out of the remote after every use and store them in a drawer on the other side of the house. Your lazy brain won't want to go get them.
That is hilariously effective. And finally, make it unsatisfying.
Exactly.
But let's look at the reality of this for a second. Let's say someone listening goes all in. They invert the laws to crush their bad habits. They set up temptation bundling. They do the 1-page rule. They are casting tiny votes for their new identity every single day.
Okay, they're doing everything right.
Right. And 2 weeks later, the scale hasn't moved an ounce. The manuscript is barely a chapter long. The bank account still looks exactly the same. What happens to our psychology when we put in all this mechanical effort, but the world gives us zero visible feedback?
This is the most dangerous phase of behavioral change. The text defines this specific frustration as the plateau of latent potential.
The plateau of latent potential.
Yes. And this raises an important question. Why exactly do we quit when we're actually doing the right things? We quit because society has conditioned us to expect linear progress. We fundamentally misunderstand how compounding works.
We think effort should equal immediate, proportional, visible reward.
Exactly.
The notes have this incredible, vivid analogy to explain this mechanism. Imagine you're sitting in a freezing cold room. It's like 25 degrees.
Okay.
On the table in front of you is a single block of ice. You start putting in the work. You heat the room up. 26 degrees, 27 degrees, 28 degrees.
And nothing happens. The ice cube just sits there.
Exactly. 29 degrees, 30, 31. You've put in all this effort to raise the temperature and the ice is completely unchanged. Most people at this point scream in frustration, "This is broken, I'm a failure, the system doesn't work," and they quit.
Because they can't see the results.
Right. But then 32 degrees, the ice begins to melt.
It is a profound way to understand human potential. The work you did at 26 and 28 degrees, it wasn't wasted. It was being stored.
It was building up.
Yes, it was accumulating latent potential energy. An ice cube doesn't melt in a smooth, linear fashion. It crosses a critical threshold. Your daily 1% improvements work the exact same way. You are building the foundation beneath the surface.
So you just have to trust the process until you hit 32 degrees.
Exactly. When you finally cross that threshold, you will experience a massive, sudden breakthrough. People on the outside will call it an overnight success, but you will know it was the result of all that stored energy from the plateau.
What stands out to you in all this? Because for me, as someone who can completely derail if I mess up a streak or drop a habit for a day, my biggest relief in this text is the focus on consistency over perfection.
Perfectionism is perhaps the greatest enemy of the compounding process. It is often just a sophisticated form of procrastination.
Yes, the material is adamant about this. Missing one day is not a failure. You do not need to be a robot to cast winning votes for your identity. You will get sick. You will have a crisis at work. You will miss a workout.
Life happens.
Exactly. The biological danger isn't the single missed day. The danger is the synaptic rewiring that happens when one missed day becomes a pattern.
Which is why James Clear offers a brilliant non-negotiable rule. Never miss twice.
Never miss twice. It completely reframes failure. You missed your habit yesterday. Fine. No guilt, no agonizing. But today, the most critical mission in your life is making sure you don't miss again.
Because if you miss twice, you're starting a new habit.
Right. You protect that second day at all costs, because that is how you protect your identity from shifting back.
Every single action matters. The tiny choices you make today are actively, physically wiring the brain of the person you become tomorrow. Choosing an apple over a cookie or reading one page instead of opening a social media app, it feels entirely insignificant in the moment.
It feels like it doesn't matter at all.
Right. But over months and years, the compounding math is undeniable.
So what does this all mean? If we take this massive stack of notes, all the neuroscience and the psychology from Atomic Habits, and distill it down for you right now, the essential takeaway is a complete reversal of what society demands of you.
That's a great way to summarize it.
You do not need giant, exhausting, dramatic changes to transform your life. Let go of the massive, anxiety-inducing destinations. Instead, shift your focus to the engine. Decide on the identity of the person you want to become and start casting tiny, one-page, 2-minute votes for that person.
Design your physical environment to make the right cues obvious and the wrong cues invisible.
Trust that the ice cube is storing your energy and simply never miss twice.
And, for the learner who hates feeling crushed by the sheer scale of their own ambitions, this is the ultimate hack. You don't have to carry the heavy psychological burden of the final destination anymore. You just have to focus on the incredibly easy 1% micro-action that is sitting directly in front of you today. It is a completely different, infinitely more sustainable way to live.
We talked heavily today about how every single action is a vote for your identity and how your physical space quietly dictates those actions. So I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. Take a look around the room you're sitting in right now. Look at your desk, the apps on your phone screen, the layout of your kitchen counter, based purely on the visible cues in your environment. What identity is your space currently voting?